Okay. Got followed again today and harassed. I went out and sat outside the Maslin Police Department. One of the things with being an informant for the FBI, my curse word. So I can sit outside a police department. They can hear me. I don't have to go in and be seen. But the idiots from Ravenna told the login so other people hear. So I'm sitting outside the Maslin Police, and I tell them about this last Thursday, May 12th, at 22 at noon, that I go to Mentors, and there's a black SUV I taped it follow me before, and a group of the guys, they go in Bubba's restaurant, sit on the patio. They should have tape and audio out there, make sure somebody don't take off and not pay their bill. They scream out across the parking lot. We told those boys none of this is funny. We heard them all admit they put a shower scene in the other room. Okay? Well, I told them that, and then about March 24th, 22, 1:30, about the two apartment buildings for me, the heavyset white guy and his dark-haired woman, how they're weird stuff, and then their drug confession, they're part of it. Well, there was an old white man, 1:30, screaming at me, "You framed her before." Yeah, I framed her before. Shame on you. I know, I wish I wouldn't have done it. I found out those people even raped her. So I tell him that, and then about December 9/21, at the Oakland apartment, 4 p.m., all the tapes before were them, not her. It's just a bunch of men doing crimes down here. He told investigators and the Canton police. Stark County Hunger Task Force, December 9/21. One of my security guards from the case, distributing food, white man, bald with dark eyes, comes out and said, "We always knew the tapes before were them, not her." So we never said a word. He talked to several investigators, okay? And some guy named Eric they're looking for. Now, November 24th, 21, 8:40 a.m., Altman Stack here on Wales Road. An officer from Maslin comes in uniform. I'm here to watch her. There's a Steve and Eric stalking her, and we don't know who they are yet. And it's finally got funny after everything they did. It's not admissible. Well, I went down and ate lunch Friday with my one friend, and they had hired a bunch of people to follow me and harass me. Well, I have tapes of what happened, and I'm playing it, okay? I said, if you pull the case, March 1st to March 15th of 19 in the evening, I'm sitting on the back porch. Someone calls Dave. What's going on? It's a real life case of how to get away with murder. She'll realize it. I said they said it inside Will's house, the legally booked house. Well, I pull in, bikers pull in, the police that were following you. They found the tape of someone telling Dave it's a real life case of how to get away with murder, and the people they hired to harass you. Nobody finds any of this funny. Well, I go down and have lunch with my friend, and I go to come back, and they get a bunch group more to follow. So I start rambling about the legal surveillance that police and agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life, failure to notify before initiating, and speaking to the other person in the home is abuse and misconduct. Failure to protect is abuse and misconduct. Who do you report? Anybody for surveillancing you in your home? Department of Justice, FBI, Police Department, ICE. Under the Fourth Amendment, right to privacy, it makes it legal search and seizure. It's not admissible, okay? And that's why Officer Reinhardt in town, when I tried to tell him about their legal surveillance, he started giggling like a little girl. And I said, well, they're talking about putting a shower scene in the other room. He's like, don't worry about it. I said, I had bruises I couldn't explain, and they were trying to say they have drug confessions, and I never talked to anybody. He said, don't worry about it. He said, nothing till Will took your statement and agreed to protect you. It's illegal to be in somebody's home, and it's illegal to look and listen. It is. It cost him his badge. Okay, yeah. All right. He said nothing till Will agreed to protect you. And then a heavy-set cop showed up within a few days by the entrance of the food counter at Walmart. I asked Dave about those people threatening her. He better not put his hands on her till I find out what's going on. Until he talked to Dave, nobody could be in my home. It's illegal. Okay? That's the only thing Will did right. I know I forgot to tell him about that guy pretending he's FBI before I called him back, and I know I forgot to tell him about the attempted kidnapping, attempted carjacking, and the guy threatened to knife me at Huntington Bank, and he could have got him when I opened my account. And I forgot to tell on that idiot Tom Hamer, but they were amnesia drugging me. My head was swimming, and I could only remember the what a shame guy. That's not my fault. It's his. Cults are evil. He should have found out that on his own. I was being greatly victimized. Okay, now, when I'm rambling about everything, I pull back in that little gas station right after Marietta. This lady pulls up next to me, rolls down a window. She said, the Massillon police don't know who they are. That's funny. And they're looking for him, and it's not admissible. She said, this has really got funny, because they said Massillon was doing it to you. They were telling people that. Why would Massillon do anything to me? I lived in Perry Township. It'd be the Perry Police. And then I lived in Primera Township. And if you Google the Primera Township Police, it's Milton or Craig's Beach. I lived 10.6 miles out of town. We had our own post office, our own schools, our own fire department, our own police departments. So, yeah. And with Dave dating a judge's daughter, even though he's retired and the undercover police framing me and drugging me, Will should have found that out too. But yeah, that lady started laughing. They tried to frame the Massillon police. They won't like that. They protect my daughter-in-law, Dixie. They drive around because they put a threat on her life, and then they started tampering with her vehicles. Lug nuts being taken off, tire come off when she's driving, tire slash, flattened. Oh my God. His car blew up on the highway. Played with her brake system so the tires explode. Yeah, they drive around. It's finally got better. So, yeah, they don't know who these people are. That's why in March of 19, some guy had just bumped me. He had this young African-American cop had me pull over in Kmart parking lot, got on his walkie-talkie. Tell Bruce I'll take care of Karen when she's in town. Bruce was over the drug and cane unit. They don't know who these people are that were drugging me up. They watched the case from Massillon, though. They corrupted a couple of the undercover officers. The dark gray truck is a rapist. White man, 6 foot, 200 pounds, shaved head, dark eyes. Told everybody they were agents from the agency stationed in the courthouse. The case is called Karen's Will from the agency. No, it's not. It's the bad guys. And I told you, I thought they were calling that being sweet because I called Will of God. I didn't know how to explain them. So I prayed and left all my problems at God's feet and prayed God's will over everything. And so I thought they were calling it Karen's Will being sweet. It's not. It's the bad guys. Officers in uniform call it Karen around the house. One of them said, what's that? In a uniform. One of us have to watch her, listen to her every day. Protective life custody for an informant. Protective life custody at home. You know, with me just telling him it was the what a shame guy, he probably thought it was just a hired stalker. Police can take care of that. They can watch her at home, not knowing they had corrupted some of them for the judge's daughter. Not everybody was involved, though. They didn't know. It's high, sweetie. June of 19, Liberty House Share, Hills and Dales Road, either North Canton or Jackson Police are there, and Ravenna Police are in the back. The worst thing you ever did wrong, honey. Bend over and probably we can wipe that out. Oh, no. When did I bend over? Oh, Grandma, what's on the back of your legs? I have varicose veins right behind my knees. It's like I got them when I had your daddy here, old Papa, while I get changed. We were video chatting. Uh-huh. I had to, they caught Melissa telling the kids to change it to my tushy and pick out a nightgown I didn't know, and I had to verify it. I always wore this tight grandma nightgown to my knees with underwear and a house coat, or a legging sweater and a house coat when the kids are over. And I just replaced all those nightgowns, but that and a few laces I kept for Dave the year before, and I had to verify that too. And he even admitted when I watched him 9 years ago, nothing bad happened. We were on the phone all day. We actually was a very sweet day. And they left happy, giggling with Mickey Mouse shoes and light up shoes, and princess shoes. It was a wonderful day. That's why Melissa asked me the next year to babysit. If she wasn't part of that, a call, she wouldn't open her mouth against me. But I told you where Dave held me down. I love you, but I love her more. I hired a man to slit your throat, stab you in the heart, you'll bleed out. To that phone call with Terry of the church is taking up 25,000 to have me murdered because I got, well, the year Ron's kid died, and they took up 25,000. That had nothing to do with the death. I just got well that year, and that minister's a bastard. He told everybody I was faking. I was sick and faking. I got well to hurt poor Romilly's grieving, and he had lost it mentally at the funeral. And then he even blasphemed God 8 years later on pulpit how much he hated him. So she still doesn't know I know. I never said anything because I realized she was part of the attempted kidnapping. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. I need to go back and tape her with her permission. I've seen that attempted kidnapping. So where the attempted kidnapping, attempted carjacking, the guy threatened to knife me in Giant Eagle. I could have told Will about him, and he's a different guy. Black hair, 6 foot, late 30s, early 40s, stocky guy. Chased me across the parking lot. Terry seen him. He tried to carjack me Memorial Day weekend 2018 on the way back from Maslin from picking up curtains for the basement, and then threatened to knife me in Giant Eagle when I opened that Huntington account September 21st, 18. Now, either Dave called someone to call him, or the Pizza Hut lady called him. And I forgot even about him. I told you, Dave, I had went down after he did that. I went down to Walmart. There was an African American lady spit in my face. Her and her white boyfriend was harassing me, and another guy with black hair, black eyes. He probably had contacts because there was no light in his eyes. What a shame. He kept staring at me, and I got away from him. And I went home and went fetal, realizing how stupid I was. All of those attempts, from following around, being Jack Strange's granddaughter's Facebook friend, to the break-in at Perry, and him telling the officer that they knew with the security system he had failed attempts on my life. And it wasn't random, it was him. How stupid was I? Thinking that maybe he was just cheating. I wasn't wrapping my mind around it. Now I'm out in the country in the middle of the woods and I don't know anybody and I'm alone. And my head had been swimming, and they were leaving threats in the mall with Sarah at Kay's Jewelers. She had told me how scared she was for me, and I had called the hotline because Dave said my girlfriend's rich and powerful. Her family owns a police you won't be able to withstand. I told him it's not a communist country. Nobody owns a police. So I called the hotline. I went 2 days later. Will called back and left his number while I was still fetal. And on the third day, I had to get up and I had to mow the lawn to get enough air in my face to think because my head was spinning. They were using amnesia drugs on me. I had orange and grapefruit size bruises on my legs and hand marks on my arms. And I'm like, did I squeeze myself and the fingerprints are bigger than mine? Okay. So I call Sarah and I'm like, Sarah, if I call someone, will you witness for me? She's like, yes. Of course, I'm scared for you. Well, we take a card out for her getting married. Her manager leaves it in her locker. We go on to Apostolic Church of Barberton. That one guy looks like the guy from a cooking show, shave his face, young it up, and same glasses, put more hair on him because he's younger. It's him. He drives a medium blue car. Paul Paymer got in Dave's face. My God, I had an FBI agent in my office. He's right there. I walk off. Dave comes in. Let's go. Well, we get out in the vehicle. You called the FBI on me. What'd you expect with threatening my life? Well, he's telling me off, and I went to put my arm on the console because he's got a loaded gun. And he knocks it off, and he's threatening my life till I'm literally holding onto the door and the handle, how much he's going to kill me. So I ready to jump out. I was that scared. Next morning, there's no turning back, and my head's swimming. Do you know what I remember to tell Will? Then what did she say? He said, I can't help you unless you have a witness. Oh, I've already talked to Sarah. She's ready to talk to you. If he wouldn't have triggered that memory, I wouldn't have remembered to tell him. See what I mean? I never had to stay quiet one day. They were talking April 14th, 22 in Save-A-Lot. They really did have a man pretend he was FBI before she called that agent back. This whole thing's sick, so Dave could confront her. It was an act. Okay? They had people pretend they were kids, bad-mouthing her. Kids didn't know about it. It's just been the people hurting her the whole time. It's sick. The whole thing's sick. It is. It's a domestic terrorism group. They lie they had a court order watch me. There's no such thing. There's no such thing as the police or the FBI even being in drug lords' homes. It's the protective life cases only. It's not admissible. Now, the cops laugh at that. It's not admissible. The FBI knows it's not, and they would just have to arrest him. And then on top of it, everybody knows it's photoshopped and drugged. January of this year, I was in Circle K gas station on Fulton Road by 6th Street. I'm using the bathroom. There's a group of them out there. We made a big mistake being in our home. I can verify. And everybody with me. She's never said she did anything wrong before. She didn't see a dark compassion. They were entering things in and out. It was potluck. Who got some? Some lady in a white SUV yelled, I've talked to so many different people, and people have seen so many different versions. I don't want to ever hear about it before. They can't even look at it. If there's a cop that even looks at it, I'd want their badge. I'd turn them into the Department of Justice. It's a legal search and seizure. But yeah, if they want people pretending they're FBI, go to Altman Hospital, March 13, 21. Now, I talked to the FBI office. They didn't know anything about the chip. Nothing. They're in there flashing badges, blaming the FBI to get in the back of the hospital. And it's not the agency. It's a domestic terrorism group pretending to be people with fake badges. None of this is funny. I sat and told Maslin, I'm sitting there going on about the guy that helped chip me. There was early in December of 18, there's a white hair guy, his hair is parted on the side, probably early 40s, sitting with a guy who looked like Joshy. There's a group of men in front of the pop station, give your jewelry back. I said, give it back, and there's a hit on a baby's life, so I told Dave I didn't want any more. $18,000 in jewelry. I was trying to save her life. They don't ever stop. It's a killing group. Okay? Dixie's seen them. She witnesses of seeing those men threaten me out of my jewelry. December 16 or 18, Darlene, my ex-friend, met with me at Bob Evans. There's a white man, bald, red beard, square glasses, 6 foot, 230, 250 pounds, huge guy, swung down in his seat. There's those group, the white hair guy, the one that looked like Joshy, and then there's 2 other men sitting at another table, and he's sitting with a crazy blonde lady saying she's a psychiatrist and I'm Karen's handler. Those are my men, easy boys. They're waving at me. Okay, well, I didn't have a handler. Will didn't do anything but leave me on his desk. That's what some guy said. That's why all this happened. Okay. Now, we're going to go, okay. December, further into December, he shows up with that guy who looks like Josh. You gotta chip her. You can't chip her. Why? She didn't do anything wrong. Her family don't care about her. They thought it was vulnerable and alone. So they're going to hurt me. Okay? 12/21/18. If you pull Will's case, protective light custody for an informant, I go to the refrigerator after getting a shower. First thing in the morning, they stab me in my neck. Foggy, hazy, dark. Bright light, felt myself cry. 6 hours later, I wake up in bed. I have this big dent in my head. Hair is missing. Skin feels funny. There's another man's come on the dresser and a giant bruise with ripples of finger marks in my ribs. And it's a 4-inch bruise. I get up, Dave is accusing me of having an affair. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. I go to the sink and there's a steak knife with bone and flesh in it. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. I go back to bed and people are stabbing me with needles in my sleep so bad. I weighed 212 to 217. And before I could get away from him, I weighed 150 pounds in 4 months. I lost 62 to 67 pounds. I couldn't even keep saliva down up there. They were drugging me up so bad. Well, that guy shows up when I meet Darlene again, January 3rd of 19, with that guy, you idiot. You left your comb on the dresser. Well, I had almost a naked lady laying next to me. You're lucky I almost combed her hair. Only combed her hair. That means it was his fingerprints in my ribs. They only knocked me out with amnesia drugs. And while they're cutting my skull open, I probably was screaming, and that's why his fingerprints were in my ribs. It's a simple surgery. They remove your skull and your skin, and then they lay the disc down, expand it out, and surgically glue it down. Why on earth was I out for 6 hours? They use it for paralyzed patients all the time. It's a legal strategy for the truth. U.S. Supreme Court 18-10134. Our U.S. government recognizes remote neuromonitoring and electronic brain links as an illegal strategy. They tried it in Guanaco Bay, and it cost them 20 years. RICO charges. Okay. March 13, 21, 2:53 p.m., Altman Hospital. I go in. I get registered. A lady comes in. We're here for Karen's will. The agency stripped her. I told you, I thought at first they were calling the case that because I called Will of God. I told everybody I prayed and left my problems at God's feet and prayed God's will over everything. Give my problems to Will. So I thought that's why they would walk around where the case is called Karen's Will from the agency. It's not. It's the bad guys. And it said, we're here for Karen's Will. The agency chipped her. Nurse points right at me. Tape and audio surveillance. Is that why she's here? An old woman gets in my face. The agency wanted the truth out of you. That's why they chipped you. It'd be something if it was Judge Pete's wife. I go in the back and I tell Dr. Alanatinas I may have a chip. A man standing outside my room, some damn bastard, neurochipped her. We already know. Tape and audio, medical malpractice. They're flashing fake FBI badges to get in the back. I went to the FBI building, Canton. Why would you think you have a chip? A Canton officer walked by me, his phone dinged. He read off my information. Someone needs to pull Will's case. These people are terrorists against the government, terrorists against the Constitution, and it rates domestic terrorism. If you read what domestic terrorism is, it's them on ungodly levels. And at Tater's office on May 5th, 22 at noon, I take my one client in there. We go to leave. These weirdos showed up with computers, okay? And they said, that's the one we use for an example, how to process people. Now we can process more. Then there's a white guy with black hair and a black beard staring at me. So I get home that night outside my apartment, May 5th, 22. That voice of you ought to chip her. You can't. Why? She didn't do anything wrong. Her family don't care about her. He's outside my apartment. What do you mean they're going to process more people like this? We only let them do it to her because nobody cared about her. I was vulnerable and alone. It's a terrorist group. No drug confession is admissible. No coerced confession. You have to be sober with Miranda rights. No officer, no agent, no man, no lady, no attorney. Nobody ever came to talk to me. I only had bruises and I got sick on drinks. So unless you're saying you drugged me up, I don't know what you're talking about where my head was spinning and I had bruises I couldn't explain. And you're talking about the people that they're saying Photoshop that shower scene. I told you Thursday the 12th at Bubba's, where I went to walk in Mentors, there are a bunch of the guys that were following me screamed it out from their patio. They probably have tape and audio, so make sure that nobody flees and not pays their bill. Screamed out, we already told those boys, we heard them admit it was a shower scene in the other room. None of this is funny. Well, I end up at Sheetz gas station on Whipple. By about 12:30, there's men in there complaining, we told those boys we knew they raped her, and none of us find it funny. Well, they also heard March 24th, 22, 1132 apartment buildings for me. You framed her before. Yeah, I framed her. Shame on you. I know I found out those people even raped her. I feel bad at everything. Everybody heard in different even towns have said they heard that bastard admit to framing me. Just like February 2nd, 22 at Burlington Coat Factories, there's a kid that looks like the guy that went to Pamer but younger with a girl with black hair and spirals in her hair. Right by the men's clothing. I wish I went and drugged her and told her to say it before I regret it. People run in Save-A-Lot saying it. And my client lives on 6th Street. There's a brown house across from his apartment building. Guy runs out. The African-American man says to the post office, delivery guy, and said, we all heard him admit to drugging her and tell her to say it before. They sold the login to a protective light case for everyone to hear. And none of this is funny. They all know I was drugged, I was photoshopped, and I was told on before I called that agent back. This is his negligence for not finding out anything. I was being victimized on ungodly levels. I was almost shot in the head driving. I had a gunshot night. I was beat, raped, tortured by a cop, a stalker, an old fat white woman between July and September 19. None of this is funny. And I was beat with internal injuries. My ex was caught with those shooters by Christmas of 18. There's a police report of sirens in the distance of a shooting that night, and the shooters meet upside my house. I got them dead to rights. Even the Freemasons that help protect me from Ravenna, they have enough evidence with that case that they don't even need her. They got all these people dead to rights. You know, Will told me, I'm meant to know wrongdoing. I'll take care of everything in the end. You'll have a life of peace as an informant. Nothing legally dated against you again. And no man will ever touch you. And only for you will we do this for, or always put it back as if it never happened, even when you tell. And you can't be legally charged for anything again for working this case. It's the Witness Protection Program. And I have accounts set up for when you move out so you can start. He retired and left me on his desk. Gross negligence? Whose fault is it when you're being victimized on that level that he didn't find out and he's a federal agent? Did I ever have to stay quiet one day? No. Not one damn day. And I lived through that hell of stalkers, almost being shot driving, a gunshot night, being beat with internal injuries, and then being drugged out of my mind up there before I could get away. Is that my fault? Or is it his for leaving me in that hell? It's his. And somebody needs to fix this. And they're just running around framing everybody for their crimes. And they act like they can get money out of this. Where the police in uniform, not one thing is admissible, it costs them their badge. You don't have a corner watch somebody. And like they said, with your ex dating a judge's daughter, they couldn't legally say a word to you in your life. Be thrown out for conflict of interest. They didn't. That's where it's amazing. They didn't. They did. I went to Abigail Watkins, Portage County prosecutor. Report Dave. She didn't mention anything. No. Told me go to the sheriff's and report Dave. She didn't know. Sheriffs didn't mention anything. They didn't know. The cops in the courthouse in uniform is, hi, sweetie. I'll tell you what, January 25th, 2019, Dave's acting crazy. All the cops are at the end of the road. I'm crying in my room at 8:30, 10:30 at night. And while I'm crying in my room, one of them shows up. The police always knew she was innocent before. They were talking about it at the station. Some guy was bailing his guy out from a team and said, if she's innocent, I'll pay a fine or bail. And said, no, the police already knew she was innocent before. And they would never want to arrest her that somebody else did something wrong before. They framed and drugged me up and photoshopped porns. Someone needs to help me, and someone needs to get me out of this.